Alright, hello, you ghouls and goblins, and after an uneventful Halloween, I've got some content for you. Or Halloween, jeez, Valentine's Day. Well, every day's Halloween if you really love it. Um, yeah, so I've got some content that will probably be coming out sometime next week. I'm just pre-recording it so that I can try to establish, or, yeah, no, it probably could come out today. I'm trying to make sure certain things are done in advance just because, well, what if I'm not able to do something at the moment? I don't want to, like, always, drop off the face of the earth, but, like, sometimes that might be the case when you're a student. So today is what I'm going to call, Folklore Fun. This one's about a particular type of creature, but I'm going to just go into why I'm doing this particular, kind of video. Might become a series. We'll see how this one does. So, when I was a kid, I was always into myths and legends, stuff like Greek mythology. My mom would buy me these diet, safe for children, Greek myths, that I would always watch, and I fucking loved it. I would always listen to shit like that. It was no surprise that one of my first, reading ventures that really got me into reading was Percy Jackson, followed by Goosebumps and then Stephen King. They're all in a pretty good, area, radius of my knowledge. Now, just like the shells and cheese, I'd watch that shit all the time. And among other sources, there'd be books that I'd like to read, as well. And there's this one big landscape portrait book oriented book, right? Which means that's like, rectangle but flipped on its side. I don't know how many you know what landscape orientation is. And it was a book of collected myths and monsters, but also weirdly had Smaug from The Hobbit, and I didn't know that was even a movie character. Or at the time, it wasn't even it wasn't a movie. It was 2014. I don't think that movie. I didn't think The Unexpected Journey even came out till 2016 or something like that. Anyways, but it was a book about monsters and shit, right? And so, there was like things like cryptids, folklore monsters, demons. One I think was even just on like a black hound, so that was pretty fun. Oh, there were trolls. There were trolls too, and they were the fucking trolls from The Hobbit. Yeah, I don't know, man. Among and things like oh yeah, Baba. I wrote some other names down in my notes. Baba Yaga and reptilioids were in that fucking book. It was fucking wild. But the one I kind of recall often, sometimes when I think about that book, is The Lang Suir. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. I'm certain someone could either tell me or say, like, actually, it's pronounced if you're a cunt. You know, now, when I thought that I could have recalled it coming from Japan, but, like, that could have just a, error in memory. But the Lang Suir actually, would actually originate from Malaysia. Now, the Lang Suir is kind of a revenant or a vampire in certain cases, said to be the woman who died while pregnant or giving birth. Now, it is said to be a woman with hair down to her feet, but apparently there were descriptions of floating head with entrails below them, like it said, like like Guillermo del Toro It balloon. Oh boy. Now, this is also have also been coming back in the mainstream media. I believe there was a sighting similar to that description, but under another name of a different creature called the the Penennigalon. Yeah, love that. Other parts of the Langsur is that they have extremely long nails and hands that go down their feet, and often wear green robes. Interesting little detail, but yeah. Now, whenever I recount horrors of times before Christianity and cultures that predate it, I have to really give it to old Asia, but also pagan Europe, but mostly old Asia, right? For creating the most nightmare fuel shit I have ever fucking heard. For that description alone, and like the entrail bit, but like also because the vampires in general, it's like old cultures, and cultures that predate it, Christianity's like diet monsters. Oh, I'm a big bad monster that, and then you throw a stone at him with the power of God and Jesus, and he literally falls over. I don't know, man. But no, I said this myth was kind of a vampire, and the victim in question was usually a young boy, that of a young adult male, or kind of like an adolescent. That's, it said, kind of young male, but I don't know what that exactly means. Wikipedia was kind of unclear. Now I say this. Now I say usually because girls also appeared on the Blood Pub hit list. However, there are it usually referenced boys, which yeah. Now there was a references to there being nighthawks, which I just found might have been a translation for owl, in that Lang Suirs have owls present at their feedings, and or that they can turn into owls, kind of reinforcing the whole vampire comparison. Though, if I really had to, pick one, although I think owls and bats are both cute, I'd probably, be more wary of a bat because they carry rabies. The worst an owl can do is just rip me to shreds. Uh, a bat could give me rabies, and I'd be afraid of water till I die of dehydration. So yeah, I don't like want to end up like Cujo. That's fucking sad. Um, so certain rituals were said to repel the Lang Suir and prevent one from rising as one from the grave. You can put glass beads in the mouth of the body, and hen's eggs under the armpits, and then needles in the palms of their hands. Apparently, that was so that they couldn't, scream or wave their hands when they raise to a dead. Like it's some sort of rave when you walk up, when you become a Lang Suir. I don't know. Now, the Sakai people of the northern Malaysia peninsula, believe that the Lang Suir can be repelled by charms and chants. And this is where, since my voice is getting raspy, I should probably take a lozenge, but I'm going to drink coffee. You want to hear a joke? I love like my cocaine like I like my coffee. Colombian. I said that to one of my friends. They didn't know that A, there were different blends of coffee, and B, that they didn't know there were different blends of cocaine. Both pretty funny. I could do a video on origins of coffee, as I learned, and cocaine, but like that's enough. That's it for a different time. All right. So now there was something that in the 2014 myths that kind of caught my eye about the Lang Suir, is that on the back of their head was a hole. And I know what you're thinking. Stop it. That if you shoved their long hair into the hole, that they would become a more docile and not evil creature, leading to some, myths where people would marry and live with the Lang Suir, and that Lang Suir would become part of the population, right? And Wikipedia had nothing about that, so if I make a series about this, then occult.com might become an all-star as far as my sources. Now, vampires in Europe often, preyed upon women and children, which led to the modern interpretation that they were, an allegory for offenders of sorts. I'm just trying to, make sure I don't, trigger YouTube's TOS personally. So there will be alluding to to certain things, right? Now, besides cases that prove there's not just women and children in the world, plus all of Victorian Europe's other crazy outdated views, it makes me wonder what a modern interpretation of a Lang Suir would be along the lines of what vampires are associated with, right? Because you could go with the romanticized like the immortality stuff like Lost Boys, Interview with a Vampire, stuff like that, or Twilight, you know. But I'm more looking at a modern, take it apart in a fiction sense, right? So, it's no secret that, and I'm, again, grossly simplifying it for YouTube's TOS, that women have been, looked down on and discriminated for some time now, quite a long time, and all over the world, too. Yes, I had to. It's just how I am. And so I would say that if I were to take this into account, plus all the other Western bullshit I have, I would say that it wouldn't be too far of a stretch to, look at it and say, okay, a Lang Suir would feed on boys and young adults. Well, what's something, the men of the world tend to believe about such a creature as a young male? That they're full of, energy, vitality, virality. What's it? Virality, like virile? Yeah, something like that. And that they're, quite literally the, lifeblood of the world, even though it takes two to tango, motherfucker. And so, yeah, they seem to prey on this, generally held higher than, the other half, group of the world. So I'm thinking maybe it was kind of like an allegory for, these types of people who would take what was considered back then, I'm trying to phrase this carefully because obviously I don't agree with this viewpoint, what was looked up to it back then as the better kind of people, a young male. Now, obviously, ideas like that fell out of place, as they should. But, I always wonder sometimes about these myths and what, cultural origins might have been. Because obviously someone, might say like, oh, well, vampires around the world exist around the world in some form or another. But I'm taking more of like a dissecting approach. And that's kind of what I came up with, I guess. Though I can't say I've heard too many approaches to dissecting other, uh, classical monsters like werewolves. I only in more of a cinematic sense where you're telling a story, I guess. Not much in like not really in a cultural approach I've seen. But that's just something I found interesting to think through, I guess. Because, monsters often are used in allegories in certain cases. Like, obviously I mentioned what vampires are. You had the Wendigo, which was, from, Native American myths, which were, said to have been, an allegory for greed, cannibalism, something they really did not want in their society, you know? So yeah, I don't know. If you like this, kind of video, I hope you, let me know how you feel about it, anything I might have missed about the Lang Suir, if I pronounced it wrong, or I say that, I'm just, targeting that at the people who go like, well, actually, but I am one of those people. Uh, no. It's just people who just do that sort of thing. But yeah, just let me know what you think about it. I'm just curious about the how this video do because if I do make it a series, it's definitely going to be called the Folklore Fun Day, right? So it might be a Friday if I ever make an actual schedule out of this, or it might take up like a normal scheduled day. But like, who knows what I'm even fucking doing on this channel? All right. And no, I'm not going to address the picture you're looking at. I'll let you decipher it for yourself. Have a good day.